Well, for more on this, we can speak with Philippe Lecor, a senior fellow at the Harvard Kennedy School, as well as ESSEC Irene. Philippe Lecor, thank you so much for being with us on France 24. This particular expression of playing with fire has been used before by Beijing on this particular issue, but does this warning sound different to you this time?
Well, yes and no. The fact that there was a conversation between the two presidents is obviously good news. I don't know whether it's serendipity, because it did happen indeed during these rumors of Speaker Pelosi's potential visit to Taiwan. I think, the messaging from Beijing is very clear that, any upgrading of relations between the United States and Taiwan will not be to Washington's credit. On the other hand, Joe Biden's view has been that there's been no change in the U.S. policy vis-à-vis China and vis-à-vis Taiwan, no upgrading at all. Now, the problem with these visits is that Nancy Pelosi has a history of, as a human rights activist and defender of human rights. But the problem is now, the trip has not been confirmed. If she goes, there will be problems with China. If she doesn't go, it will be seen as climbing down on the part of the United States. So it won't be good for the U.S. president, nor for the U.S. Congress, of which she's the speaker, which means she's the third highest ranking official in the United States. Meanwhile, in China, President Xi Jinping is facing a major political event in a couple of months, or maybe 3 months maximum, which is the 20th Party Congress of the Chinese Communist Party, which means that if he's appearing as being weak vis-à-vis the United States, and as you pointed out, there is indeed a very critical relationship going on at the moment. That won't be good for his leadership and the way he appears across the political spectrum, particularly vis-à-vis his CCP colleagues. So, both leaders are facing this dilemma. The fact they're talking is good news, but I don't think that the Pelosi visit was discussed, although we don't know the details, for the good reason that President Biden is not the boss of Speaker Pelosi. Speaker Pelosi is basically running the House of Representatives of the U.S. Congress. She's not part of the executive branch. And meanwhile, China, of course, can choose to disregard this fact, but she can actually do what she wants.
And in actual terms, what could actually happen if Nancy Pelosi goes through with this visit to Taiwan? What could actually be Beijing's reaction? What's likely to happen if that does happen?
Well, again, we have this major political event taking place at the moment. The Chinese leaders are discussing, who's going to take what job, for the next 5 years. This is a critical moment for domestic politics. So I don't think, we're going to see a full-fledged military action. I don't think they will pursue, Nancy Pelosi's jet, for example. But they could recall the Chinese ambassador to Washington. They could impose economic sanctions. There could be more threats. But on the other hand, the relationship, as you said yourself, is already bad enough. So how bad can it get is the question. And again, Nancy Pelosi, she's in the last stage of her speakership, of her leadership of the House. She's 82. She's got a history of being tough with China. She may want to play this gesture, or she may not. But if she doesn't go now at this stage, the consequence will be bad for the U.S., for the bargaining the US may be able to impose on China, talking about the long-term relationship between the two countries.
And this Friday, we also saw Russia express support with China's stance on this issue. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov saying they're in solidarity with Beijing. How could this close relationship with Russia affect Beijing's thinking when it comes to the goal of, quote, reunification with Taiwan?
Well, it doesn't affect Beijing directly, but remember that Russia and China have signed a major joint agreement on February the 4th, just before Russia started attacking Ukraine. They are considered very close partners, if not allies. They don't have that many other friends, to be honest. And the fact that Russia made this statement shows Beijing that it's not alone and it's got friends. And in fact, if you look at Chinese media these days, they do actually give Moscow's view much rather, rather than Kiev's view or the West's view. So the two countries are very close, and I don't think Beijing will change anything due to Russia's standing. On the other hand, keep in mind that there are Chinese military troops in Russia at the moment doing joint military exercise. So they have a close cooperation, and this is something that the West should certainly keep in mind.
Philippe Lecor is a senior fellow at the Harvard Kennedy School. Thank you very much for being with us on France 24.